One of the most monumental albums of the rock era was recorded with a budget of only $65,000. The label projected the album would sell 250,000 copies at best, but it went on to sell more than 30 million copies. Coming up, we unbox the 30th anniversary Super Deluxe edition of Nirvana's Nevermind, and we go in depth on the pivotal tracks featured on this landmark album with special guests. Coming up next on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you want to take a deep dive into the songs that have become the soundtrack of your life, you're going to dig this channel. Make sure that you subscribe below right now and click the bell so that you never miss out on our latest videos and our latest interviews. Also, check out our latest on Patreon. Exclusive content there that helps us to curate this history, and you get to become an honorary producer to help us with that. In 1989, Nirvana debuted with the album Bleach. The album showed promise for Nirvana when it sold 40,000 copies in North America. Bleach did very well in the UK. It went all the way to the number 8 position on the UK indie album chart. Now, for their second release, Nevermind, Nirvana nervously left the indie haven of Sub Pop and took the major label plunge to Geffen Records. Geffen projected Nirvana's new album would be a big leap from the sales of their first offering, and they projected their sophomore release would sell about 250,000 copies. To some, that seemed like a very optimistic forecast. But of course, Nirvana shocked the music industry and the world when Nevermind ended up selling more than 30 million copies. Nirvana released Nevermind on September 24th, 1991, a red letter date for sure. It's hard to believe that was more than 30 years ago. Nirvana, while only releasing 3 studio albums, is so ingrained in rock music culture, it's as if they've been around as long as the Rolling Stones. Oh sure, Nirvana was making noise within the emerging grunge music ecosystem, but no one had the slightest inkling that they were going to become a global phenomenon. Not even those closest to the band made such a bold prediction. It was not even on their radar. Why did Nirvana all of a sudden just blow up and change the course of music around the world? Change the course of history, really. There's been much discourse on this subject. Nevermind did not achieve its gigantic success because Nirvana had toured relentlessly and built a huge fan base. It wasn't because of some brilliant marketing campaign to set up the album at retail. And it wasn't because the band's leader, Kurt Cobain, was a larger-than-life personality on the cover of magazine stands across the world. It was exactly the opposite. Nevermind was a cultural game-changer because the music came from an authentic artist that spoke to a new generation of fans that didn't want glitz or glamour. And yeah, I speak from experience here because I was there. I was right in the middle of it when this all happened. We were tired of being spoon-fed candy-sugared pop. I mean, as Morrissey saying so truthfully just years before, the music that they constantly play says nothing to me about my life. It was a new generation of fans starving for music that connected with them emotionally, emancipating the feelings they had trouble expressing and reflecting who they were as human beings. Suddenly there was this music that made them, us, realize we weren't alone. There was a whole movement of people that felt the same way. Nevermind remains a masterpiece of realism because Kurt Cobain was heroic to the anti-establishment, creating songs about social frustration, anti-sexism, alienation, and the piercing heartbreak of broken romance. Hearing Smells Like Teen Spirit was a life-changing moment. The first time I heard it, it was like a massive sucker punch that knocked you across the room. What was that? If you're a Gen Xer, you remember this the same way their parents remembered seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. I recently interviewed a band who felt the same way.
When I found Nirvana, it hit me so hard. It changed my life.
Yeah, that was kind of like our Ed Sullivan moment, right?
It was like that scene from Wizard of Oz where suddenly just the world is in color.
Yeah.
I was a completely different human after that.
While unboxing the new 30th anniversary Super Deluxe edition of Nirvana's Nevermind, I was reminded of just how historic this album is and how much the music captivated me along with everyone around me. To the delight of us audiophiles, the Super Deluxe Edition remastered the epic songs on Nevermind. The presentation also enhances the album's historical significance with all kinds of exciting must-have extras. The marvel of Nevermind began with the lead single, of course, the aforementioned Smells Like Teen Spirit, a track that, by itself, was a revolution. Cobain made light of the song's significance when he wrote the self-deprecating line, "I feel stupid and contagious." Smells Like Teen Spirit was the keystone that detonated the grunge explosion into the mainstream. It changed everything forever. Cobain was openly proud of his passion for the bands that influenced the captivating sounds of Nevermind. Bands like R.E.M., Boston, the Smithereens, and the Melvins. But make no mistake about it, the dynamic shifting energy of Smells Like Teen Spirit was inspired by Cobain's love for the Pixies, especially for the arrangement of Smells Like Teen Spirit. Kurt Cobain was fascinated by the passive aggressiveness in the music of the Pixies, suddenly going from soft and quiet to loud and hard in an instant. Smells Like Teen Spirit was one of the newer songs that Cobain submitted to producer Butch Vig for Nevermind. Cobain referred to the famous riff of the track as cliched, admitting that it was similar to the Tom Scholz riff in Boston's More Than a Feeling, or Richard Berry classic Louie Louie. Nirvana bassist Krist Novoselic, he called the riff ridiculous, which annoyed Kurt Cobain, so he made the band play the riff continuously for 90 minutes. Novoselic began playing the song a bit slower, and the pace inspired drummer Dave Grohl to create a drum beat for the song that he compared to a rhythm from the Gap Band. Those experimental moments led to Novoselic and Grohl sharing writing credits with Cobain. Now, the title of the song, of course, famously came from a phrase that was scribbled on a wall by his friend Kathleen Hanna, who was the lead singer for the band Bikini Kill. Hanna wrote, "Kurt smells like Teen Spirit," meaning that she thought that Cobain smelled like the deodorant brand Teen Spirit, which she discovered with her bandmate Toby Vale at a grocery store, actually. Cobain had never heard of the deodorant until months after the single was released, and he'd interpreted the line as a profound slogan of rebellion, since the two had engaged in a serious conversation about anarchism and punk rock. Now, during the verses, Kurt Cobain used a small clone pedal to achieve an eerie, dissonant tone. He played the Electro Harmonix small clone clean on the verses. And simultaneously with boss distortion on the pre-choruses and the solo. Smells Like Teen Spirit, with its raw mix of thrash, punk, and pop melodies combined with the liberated fury of its chorus, was a supersonic force. No question. Nirvana's label and management regarded Teen Spirit as a setup track to Come As You Are. A setup track. The song that they all believed had the biggest crossover was Come As You Are. Come as you are, as you were. But Smells Like Teen Spirit shot to number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100. In addition to being a number 1 track at alternative rock and number 7 at mainstream rock, it was massive around the planet. It was number 1 in Spain, New Zealand, France, Belgium, and Australia, and it broke the top in the UK and virtually every other country in Europe. All the music experts could do at this point was shake their heads at the song's breathtaking global takeover. It was one of those exceptional songs that reminds us the power of music is unscientific and, of course, unpredictable. Okay, let's turn the spotlight to some of the other prime cuts from Nirvana's cultural masterpiece. Definitely come back to Smells Like Teen Spirit in the future. Amazing song. Track number 2, In Bloom, the version of the song that is featured on Nevermind was the second recording of the song. The original was recorded a year earlier when the band was still signed to Sub Pop. fourth and final single from Nevermind, of course. The original version was much faster and frenzied. Kurt Cobain worked feverishly on revamping the song into a more melodic track for Nevermind. Butch Vig recalled that Kurt Cobain hated doing multiple vocal takes, which made it tough to get that master take. Vig further revealed that he tricked Cobain into thinking that certain parts were not properly recorded, so the vocal needed to be laid down again. That's how he got it. Butch Vig also appealed to Cobain's deep respect for the Beatles by reminding him that even John Lennon double-tracked his vocals in the studio. Cobain's vocal phrasing was wildly inconsistent during the sessions for In Bloom, which also posed a challenge for Butch Vig. He would often have to adjust the input levels on the fly while recording Cobain's vocals. Now, on the original version of In Bloom, there were no harmonies, which Vig felt would make the song stronger. So Vig asked Dave Grohl to add the harmonies and double-track them as he did Cobain's vocals. Grohl struggled with the high octave that Vig wanted, but eventually he worked it out. As the fourth and final single from Nevermind, In Bloom performed well internationally with its highest chart position achieved in Israel, where it climbed to number 7. The single peaked at number 28 on the Billboard Hot 100 and was another staple on the playlists of the rock radio formats. So track number 3, Come As You Are, a song about the union of social misfits, where an old enemy is as welcome as an old friend. It's also a song about racial harmony with Cobain's words in verse 2. Come doused in mud, soaked in bleach, as I want you to be. Cobain, as the narrator, points out that the rules of society can be contradictory and frustrating when ultimately you should just be able to be yourself. Not feel pressured to be what society wants you to be. The I swear that I don't have a gun line is another way of saying I am not judging you, just be yourself. As I mentioned, this is the song that Geffen Records and Nirvana's management company Gold Mountain felt was the superior song on Nevermind. Although it did not ascend to the heights of Smells Like Teen Spirit, Come As You Are is a true Nirvana classic. Kurt Cobain didn't specifically credit the provenance of the song's title, but it's believed that it originated from the Come As You Are slogan at the 1940s Mork Hotel that was located in Kurt's hometown, Aberdeen, Washington. The town later adopted the phrase to celebrate Kurt Cobain's fame. Come as you are. After running away from home when he was just 17, Kurt spent some time at that hotel before moving on to one of his many transient quarters. Like Smells Like Teen Spirit, Come As You Are was one of the newer songs that the band recorded for Nevermind with Butch Vig. Cobain used the same small clone effects pedal that he used so effectively on Smells Like Teen Spirit. It gave Come As You Are almost a dreamlike vibe where the guitar was being played underwater. Cobain, Novoselic, and Grohl were all big fans of Killing Joke. So much so that they borrowed the riff from Killing Joke's 1985 alternative rock anthem, 80s. Which sparked some tension between the two bands at that time. Killing Joke pursued legal action for a time, but when Kurt Cobain committed suicide, Killing Joke frontman Jazz Coleman had a change of heart, and he withdrew their claim. Coleman actually stated that life's too short. Cobain's repeated mention of a gun is also part of creepy speculation, given the cause of Cobain's death. But those close to Cobain have repeatedly held that they don't think suicide was on Kurt's mind when he wrote Come As You Are. The gun could refer to one vivid occasion in Kurt's childhood when his mother got so angry with her husband, who was Kurt's stepfather, that she chucked his guns in a river. Kurt Cobain told of how he pulled the guns out of the river, dried them out, and sold them to get enough money to buy his first guitar when he was just 15 years old. Come As You Are, that went to number 32 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was another top 100 throughout Europe and Nirvana's second number one single in Australia. Track number 5 on Nevermind is actually my personal favorite song that Nirvana ever did. Lithium, the third single from the album that was named after the drug prescribed to treat patients who are suffering from manic depression or bipolar disorder.
Just maybe I'm to blame for all I've heard.
Cobain claimed that he often wasn't writing about himself, but actually observations in others. Lithium was a combination of self-reflection and his surveillance. Cobain was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and he was well aware of its effects on his mental health. The erratic mood changes in the song's lyrics are a telltale sign of what he was going through.
Today found my friends in my head.
Lithium also harkens back to Cobain's experience with the born-again Christian family of his friend Jesse Reed, another one of his temporary homes. Sunday morning is every day for all I care, and I'm not scared. Light my candles in a daze, because I've found God.
My candles in our days, 'cause I found God.
In the chorus of Lithium, Cobain is a man of few words, but the yeah part that he shouts doesn't need eloquence to be one of the most powerful declarations in a piece of recorded music. You definitely feel every ounce of pain and vexation in that chorus over 5 simple notes that are magnified by the big muffed fuzzbox distortion for those imposing guitar riffs. The riveting aura of Lithium is accentuated by the surging rhythm of Novoselic's bass line and Grohl's sharp, intense drumming. Lithium was perhaps the most challenging to record on Nevermind. The band had difficulty maintaining a steady tempo since the song is such a unique cadence. They actually abandoned the song for a bit because they were so frustrated with it. Once again, Butch Vig showed how invaluable he was in the making of Nevermind when he advised Grohl to play the song's beat with a metronome and use simpler fills for the song, and poof, the timing problem was solved. Lithium, again, it just spoke to me and so many of my friends. Just an incredible song.
I'm so lonely, that's okay.
Beyond the timeless vitality of the 4 singles, there are 2 tracks on Nevermind that don't receive the same fanfare, but are important illustrations of why Kurt Cobain's music captivated a generation. Polly, track number 6 on Nevermind, that was in a batch of older Nirvana songs that Butch Vig recorded for Nevermind. The track is raw and flawed, with mistakes from Cobain intentionally on the recording, which add to the authenticity of the song's poignance. The subject matter of Polly is based on a horrific true-life tragedy. A 14-year-old girl whose name was never released by the press was kidnapped while returning home from a concert in Tacoma, Washington in 1989 by a serial attacker named Gerald Friend. After days of merciless torture, the girl miraculously escaped when her tormentor took her for a ride in his car and he stopped for gas. Polly, written by Cobain, Grohl, and Novoselic, is incredibly moving and hypnotic.
Got some rope, haven't told. Promise.
Nirvana performed some benefit concerts to support victims of rape, including the Rock Against Rape concert that was held in '93. That raised funds for a women's self-defense organization.
Let me take a ride.
Because of the time period from which it came from, I want to convey my deep appreciation for the darkness surrounding Something in the Way, track number 12 on Nevermind.
Something in the way.
To me, the song is a snapshot that depicts a formative period of the life of Kurt Cobain. Cobain originally wanted the song to be recorded with a full band sound, but it just wasn't working. So Cobain sat on a couch in the control room of Studio A inside the Sound City Studios in Van Nuys, California. And he played the song for Butch Vig on an acoustic guitar to demonstrate how he thought it should sound. Butch Vig was impressed with the unplugged rendition, and he then told Cobain to stay on the couch while he turned off the air conditioning, unplugged the telephone, and set up microphones where Kurt was sitting to capture what he just heard. Something in the Way is based on a period of Cobain's life when he was a homeless runaway, and he spent time underneath the Yonge Street Bridge, not far from his childhood home in Aberdeen, Washington. According to his sister, Kim Cobain, Kurt would often sleep curled up like a kitten in a cardboard refrigerator box on the porch of Del Cover, the drummer of the Melvins. During this period, it was common for Kurt to bounce around from place to place, sometimes sleeping in the hallways of old apartment buildings. They had some kind of central heating and exit before residents noticed him.
Underneath the bridge.
Kurt Cobain and a friend would also watch TV and sleep in the waiting room of Grays Harbor Hospital with no money to buy something to eat. He invented a fictitious room number to charge food from the hospital cafeteria so that he'd have something to eat there. Cobain transported us to those bleak days as a destitute teenager in Aberdeen. Underneath the bridge tarp has sprung a leak, and the animals I've trapped have all become my pets.
All become my pets.
And I'm living off of grass and the drippings from the ceiling. It's okay to eat fish because they don't have any feelings.
Don't have any feelings.
One of the most astounding facts setting up the making of Nevermind was that Geffen Records gave the band and producer Butch Vig a budget of $65,000. From a major record label, that's not a lot of money. And the eventual gross sales of the album, like I said, have surpassed an estimated $500 million. That's a return of investment that Gordon Gekko would be very proud of.
Thank you very much.
As I always do, Universal has curated a phenomenal box set to celebrate this transformative, life-changing record. They've done it right all the way through. The Nevermind 30th Anniversary Super Deluxe includes 4 complete live shows that chronicle the band's rocket ride to global stardom, including Amsterdam, as well as live in Del Mar, California, filmed on December 28, 1991 at the Pat O'Brien Pavilion at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. It's also live in Melbourne, Australia for Triple J. It was recorded on February 1st, 1992 at the Palace in St. Kilda, and live in Tokyo, Japan, recorded on February 19, 1992. All 4 are included in the Super Deluxe edition. These live shows are a treasure trove of historical performances that will make you ache for the 90s. The commemoration of the album that has sold more than 30 million copies worldwide to date will also come in standard digital, a CD, and single disc vinyl edition, with all formats newly remastered from the original half-inch stereo analog tapes to high resolution. The Super Deluxe package also boasts a 40-page hardcover book with unreleased photos, another beautiful touch in this set for sure. I love this book. All this adds up to a piece of recorded history that you have to experience physically to appreciate the album's depth and breadth. Make sure to click on the link below to get your 30th Anniversary Super Deluxe edition of Nirvana's Nevermind, an exciting collection of one of the most impactful bands of all time, and the album that shifted every aspect of our culture when it was released. I'll leave the last word to a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. As Ann Wilson of Heart told me, it was a weird time because the 80s had turned into the 90s, but it wasn't the 90s yet. It was still the 80s, even though it was 1990, 91. And then all of a sudden, this out of nowhere Smells Like Teen Spirit. It's like...
that was one of those tsunami moments.
Wow.
Where wash away everything that came before it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, you can get the box link below. Leave us a comment about Nirvana's Nevermind. What do you remember about this, again, generation-affirming album? Did it change your world like it did mine? Also share your thoughts on the tracks and its impact. Let's get a discussion going. Let me know what other 90s rock content you want to see here. If you dig our channel, make sure that you subscribe below so you never miss out on any of our videos. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Look for the link for the Nirvana box set below, and in the comments, we'll pin it up above. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.